Please start. Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy to see you. We've been here. This is day 3. I hope we have people around. I'd love to see in the comment section so that we don't start alone. Let's see whether we have people who are with us. If you're here, please say hello. Please say hello to me. This is your coach and therapist, Ruth Waithera, doing our last session today. So if you're here, please say something. Say hello. Let's see where you are watching us from. Let's keep it live. Let's keep it warm. Help us know that you are here. Wow, Josephine. This is so good. Day 3. I see you. Been seeing you from day 1. Please tell us where you're watching us from. We have Mother Mogore. Hi, Mother. We have Scholar. Thank you for showing up today. Do we have other people who are with us? If you are here with us tonight, please let us know. Tell me where you are watching from. Wow, Lynette. Thank you. You're saying today you had to be on time. Thank you. Thank you for honoring us. Do we have others who are with us? Yes, I'm seeing. Oh, Lynette, you're watching us from Malindi. Awesome. We are blessed to have you here. We have Rebecca Wamalwa. Where are you watching us from, Rebecca? Do we have someone else with us? Please say hello, greet us. Let's know we are together. Let's know we have got company. I hope you've been learning something from these sessions. Yes, thank you, Rebecca, watching us from Mala. We appreciate. Thank you for coming on board. Wow, we have Martha Mogore from Kiambu County. Thank you, Martha. Much welcome. Pauline Mushiri. Hi, Pauline. Nice to see you. We have Martha Jayakio from Thika. Thank you, Margaret, sorry. Thank you, Margaret, for watching. Jane Wamboi, hi, from Kasarani. Very nice to see you here. Esther Minor from Nairobi. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming to be with us. Scholar, you are telling us you're from Kiambu. Thank you. Dorcas, you're asking, how could you miss the session? Watching us from Ruaka. I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up. We have Sarah Mudhoni, who is watching us from Roiro. Karibu sana, Sarah. Thank you for coming. Do we have someone else who wants to say hello to us before we start the sessions? So that we know we are not alone. I see Zippy is also with us. Zippy was our guest speaker from day 1. She talked about trauma. She's here with us. So thank you, Zippy. Karibu sana. Oh, Carol has also joined us. We have Mercy Ogwell from Kakamega. Hi, Mercy. Life with Wamboi Mudhaka. Lovely. Very lovely. Exciting to see you. Lenny Karaoke. I'm glad to be here. We are also so glad to see you. So Wamboi is saying hello. Do we have someone else who has not said hello to us and they are with us in the session? It's encouraging so that we know we are not alone. Mercy Ogwell from Kakamega. Mercy Mwai. You're following us from County 021. Thank you for showing up. We have a Facebook user who has said hello. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being with us. Facebook user, Mercy Mwai from County 021. Monica Sishudi from Nairobi. It's so exciting to see all of you here. We have Julianne Melea. Hello from Ukunda. Thank you. We are in all parts of this country. We have Rose Mboya saying hello to us, ladies. Hello, back to you. Who else is with us? This is our last day, so we want to make sure everybody is on board before we start. We want to also take time to appreciate you for your consistency, the 3 days to be with us. We have Eve Cheeks saying hello from Kilifi. Thank you, Eve. So I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your consistency. Today is the last day. Please pardon me if I cough a little bit here and there. And Wangoi saying hello from Nanyuki. Thank you, Anne. God bless you. Thank you for showing up. Kimani Joki, hi. So happy to see you. We have Christine from Malaba. Hello. Anne Wangoi from Nanyuki. So excited to see all of you here. Someone is saying, wow. Hi, Alice. So nice to see you here. You've said you made it today by God's grace. We have another Facebook user from Kangemi, and it is so wonderful and awesome to see all of you here. I believe now, as more people keep joining us, we will proceed. The last 3 days have been very exciting. Hi, our Facebook user from Umoja. Day one, we looked at trauma. Yesterday, we looked at attachment styles. And I'm really appreciating the kind of conversations that are taking place on our pages, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, and everywhere, because it tells me that people are learning something. It tells me that we are ready. We are ready for the healing that is ahead. We are ready to take these matters by storm. We are ready. We are ready to heal. And it's my pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure to take you through healing. And I want us to start tonight. I want us to look at trauma, Sam. Just a minute. Thank you. Technology issues. So today we are looking at trauma healing. I know Zippy looked at trauma on Monday, but today I want to look at adverse childhood experiences, because we have been saying that the 0 to 7 years of a child's age are very important. Why? Because their brain and their mind is developing at a very fast rate. 0 to 7 is when a lot of programming happens. And like I have said here before, is that 90% of our behavior is directed by a subconscious mind, which largely grows between the 0 to 7 years. So I want us to look at that stage very critically, so that we understand why we need healing, so that we understand how that stage shows up for us as adults, so that we're able to heal it. And like Zippy taught us on Monday, she said that trauma is the response to a deeply distressing or disturbing event. So trauma is that reaction to that event that's distressing or disturbing, and it overwhelms your ability to cope, and it causes feelings of helplessness. It diminishes your sense of self and your ability to cope and to feel a full range of emotions. And being a child's first mirror to the world, the caregivers are very important, because they reflect, they mirror how the child views the world. So if a child experiences events that make them feel helpless, events that make them feel hopeless, diminished, like they are not worthy, like they don't matter, then that response is what gets programmed into their subconscious mind. So such events normally feels like somebody has a loss of control. You have no control over what is happening to you. So you may feel like you're spinning. You will feel betrayal, like betrayed. Somebody will be abusing their power over you. Like I see parents do this all the time. The parent has so much power over a child. The child relies on the parent to survive. So when the parent abuses that power, it can really cause distress to a child. And this kind of events that we are talking about, because every time we talk about trauma and adverse experiences, we think the worst. Sometimes we think war, natural disaster, physical violence, or such extremes. But for an event or an experience or an occurrence to have traumatic effects on someone, they don't necessarily have to have gone to that extreme. So these traumatic adverse childhood experiences are the kind of experiences that occur in childhood. And they don't have to be extreme. They don't have to be like physical violence. Though physical violence is also very, very common in our African homes, in the way we were raised, in the way we were brought up. Physical violence was real. And these events do not need to have been done by somebody who had malice. Because I think that's where we get it wrong. Because every time we talk about our parents, and them maybe having been emotionally abusive or neglectful, we imagine that my mother or my father loves me so much, they couldn't have done these things to me. And that is true. What your mother or your father was doing was not necessarily, they didn't intend it to harm you. Actually, they were trying to put you on the straight and the narrow. They wanted the best outcomes for you. Unfortunately, your childhood or your child brain interpreted it completely different. You saw violence. You felt helpless. You felt misunderstood. You felt unloved. That is how you interpreted the things that they did. And that is why it is important to understand this period so that we don't continue doing the same things that were done to us, justifying, like I hear many of us justify and say, these things were done and it turned out right. A lot of us did not turn out right. They didn't turn out right. It's just that sometimes we look at the outright effects of these things. So we imagine that somebody is keeping a job, even if they are not thriving and they are not prospering at it. Somebody has a marriage, even if it's a very sad one, it's very abusive, you are unhappy in that marriage, but because you have it, we imagine that you turned out right. You are not having a full life like you'd have had. So sometimes we imagine, you know what, we turned out right. A lot of us did not turn out right. And those childhood experiences that we're talking about could have looked like things like living with a parent who has a chronic condition. There's something we call parentification. Parentification is where we have like reversed roles. So a child is supposed to be nurtured, protected, loved, cared for, brought up by a parent. But many times when you're dealing with a parent with a chronic illness, you may find the roles have been reversed. Instead of the parent caring for you, you are the one who is caring for the child. That is an event beyond control. It's beyond you. But the fact that it was beyond you does not mean it didn't affect you. And that is why when we are looking at ACEs, we are not like trying to shift blame to our caregivers, our guardians, and our parents. No. Because some of the things that happened were really beyond anybody's control. But the way they affected you, they denied you the opportunity to be a child. They denied you the opportunity to do childlike stuff. They denied you the opportunity to explore the world in the innocence of a child. You found yourself taking up responsibilities too early. Responsibilities that were not supposed to be yours, you took them up too early. ACEs could also involve living with a parent who uses substances. I have said this many times. Sometimes maybe your mother was, for lack of a better word, the village drunkard. That is traumatic to a child. It is. You see your mother, everybody talks about them. You almost do not want to be associated with that family. So instead of having that sense of belonging, that sense of being loved, that sense of being brought together, you find yourself now, you are struggling with issues that are beyond your ability, your emotional and mental capacities as a child to deal with. And that is how ACEs happen, the adverse childhood experiences. Or the more obvious ones, maybe you're living in a family where there's violence, outright violence. That will affect the fear that creeps into a child, the feeling of helplessness, as maybe a child watches a mother or a father unleash terror on their partner. It will have very traumatic effects in a child. So ACEs are about how the adverse childhood experiences are about how the child experienced the world and how the child interpreted the things that were being done to them. Maybe you were raised in a family where your father, your older sibling, was engaged in crime. So he was always out of prison. He was in and out of prison. He was the village thief or something like that. Maybe he was a robber. Those things would terrify you. Or maybe you were raised in a family where there was one parent. The other parent was nowhere to be found. And every time I talk about ACEs, I love to give my own personal example. I was raised in a very happy, stable home. None of the things that people talk about could have been done to me. But there's one aspect that was missing. I was raised by a single mom. And for the longest time, I thought that matter does not affect me. My mother was awesome. She did her best to raise us. But the absence of the father figure in my life, deliberately or undeliberately, affected me. And I didn't think that way until a few years ago, when I found myself, I'm having struggles. So I started understanding about ACEs. And I thought, you know what? Maybe the growing up without a father really affected me. And when I was doing my own healing journey, I realized, yes, it did. And I went into history taking. I dug up, because my mother is deceased. So I really wanted to understand what happened there, because the memories I have, and that's why I'm telling you, be very careful with kids. I think I have a memory of my father as young as 2 years old. I don't have a face, but I have those memories somewhere. And so when I went to ask questions, my grandmother told me, you know what? You asked me that same question when you were 3 years old. What happened to my father? So that tells you that that issue was affecting me. As I grew up, of course, I managed to push it into the background. I pushed it into the background. But it continued to affect me. I remember when I went to high school, it became full-blown. I didn't think, okay, I was also not very self-aware. So there are a lot of things, those things we pack and we push to the side. I remember when I was going to Form 1, I was an A student. I was among the top, and I went to a good school. I was among the top 10 students in that class. But by the time I was set Form 2, Term 3, I was the bottom 5 out of a class of like 100. I was 90-something from top 10, to the point where my mother was called to school. Of course, I always learned not to show up big. That is something I had learned from an early age. You know what? Play small, girl. Play small. Don't show up big. So even to express myself and to say, this matter is affecting me, it's doing this, no. But somehow, by the grace of God, I managed to rescue myself, though I didn't get back to the capacity I would have gotten. But are you seeing how that childhood experience affected me and how I showed up in my academic performance? And sometimes we will talk to children, beat them up, get them tutors, and it doesn't work. Why? Because we are not dealing with the root of the problem. And I remember there was a turning point in my life. The way we were raised in our African homes, it was very hard for a parent to tell you they loved you. Very difficult. But I remember one point when I turned 16, my mother wrote me a birthday card. It was very beautiful and very nice. And the one thing she told me is that I love you. That revolutionized my life. And that's how my grades started coming up. I'm not sure whether maybe she thought in her mind that this issue of being raised by a single mom was affecting me. Maybe she did, maybe she did not. But that's one thing, to know that my mother loved me. That time I was turning 17, I think. I was turning 17. To know that my mother loved me was enough to make me improve on my grades. So if you have been raised in a home where is one parent, don't always push that matter to the background. That could be the matter that has really affected your esteem. And when I started processing these things, I realized, you know what, I had a serious identity issue. If there's one thing I loathed, and I'm learning to come out of it, is to speak up. Why? At one point in my life when I was in school, because when you talk about caregivers and the guardians and the people who are in your early years, it also includes teachers. And the times that some of us went to school, teachers were not very emotional, intelligent. So they would say stuff that affect kids in one way or another. So I remember one day the teacher asking me, because me, I had 3 female names. The teacher asked me, and what is your father's name? I wished the ground would open, swallow me, because I did not know what to say. It was already an issue. So the moment a teacher said it, it made me feel so insignificant, so unimportant. And I was a bright student. So I started feeling so unimportant, so insignificant. The teacher asks question in class, I do not want to respond because I felt humiliated. And I remember now when I was processing my father issues, one of the greatest things that stood up is that my father did not give me an identity. He was supposed to have given me an identity, but he didn't. Was it anybody's fault? I don't think so. When I came to understand the circumstances around my birth, I realized it was nobody's fault. Nobody sat down and decided, you know what, we are denying this child an identity. But the things that happened around there denied me an identity. And that affected me for the longest time. It was not until I was in my late 30s that I was able to embrace myself as a whole person. I always felt defective. Why? Because I felt like I didn't have an identity. So this is what adverse childhood experiences can do to you. So if maybe you lost a parent at an early age, and sometimes we ignore kids. We don't think children have emotions. We don't think children should hear about that. So their mother dies or their father dies, then they are just brought to the front, take pictures during the day of the burial, then they take a backseat. And that matter ends there. Nobody talks to them. Nobody then tells them what happened to their mother, what happened to their father. Nobody cares about their grief. You could be carrying that grief with you, and it affects how you show up in life today. And childhood trauma isn't just what about your family did. It's more. It could be unsafe neighborhoods. Were you bullied as a child? This also resonates very well with me. I remember growing up, I grew up in the village. There was a very common activity that used to be done in the evening called milk fetching. If you didn't have a cow, you'd go to the neighbor's home or somebody in the neighborhood or within your village and get milk from there. And village life used to be a bit slow those days. People would milk their cows at 7:30. It's already dark. It's going to 8. So there's this specific home I used to go and fetch milk from. And there was no electricity in the village those days. So when darkness comes, it is pitch dark. That home was like 10 homes from my home. So it used to terrify me to go and get milk. Why? Because our school bully lived next door. And he really used to love bullying me. For whatever reason, he would really pick up on me. So I would think of going to fetch milk and I would shudder. I would get so anxious. And true, he would wait for me at the gate in the darkness and then he would chase after me. So you can imagine when a 10-year-old is running from a boy who was around 13, 14 or 15, because he was also one of those boys that had really repeated classes, adverse childhood experiences. I think that's why he used to bully us. Because we got into class 1, we found him in class 3, we caught up with him in class 5. You know, that kind of, it used to be very traumatic for people whose IQ, and they were not performing very well in school. You are made to repeat. You grow a beard in class 4, you grow a beard in class 5. So if you're also that kind of a person, that was really an adverse childhood experience. I'm sure it affected your esteem. It affected how you saw yourself. And I think this is why this young man just decided, I'm going to be bullying girls, especially the ones that look intelligent. I'm going to bully them. So he would really run after me. I would be so terrified. Do you know what my mind was telling me at that moment? That the world is extremely unsafe. Ruth, the world is unsafe. For some reason, nobody did anything about it. Nobody did anything about it. And that communicated to me that, you know what? You are also not worth protecting. You are not worth fighting for. You are not worth defending. Because somebody should have risen up, go to that young man's parent and tell him, you know what? I do not want to hear this young man harassing this girl. But it's never happened. So I grew up knowing and understanding that the world is unsafe. Men are extremely unsafe, and that I'm not worth protecting and I'm not worth defending. And I came into the world with that attitude. I remember the other days I was talking to someone and they were asking me, Ruth, you will share your problems with me, but you have this common belief that I have noticed in you. You don't think anybody is capable of helping you. You want to fight your own battles. Yes, I have this problem, but guess what? I have it sorted out. I have it. Try me. I will show you. And now when I was processing my pain, that's when I did, you know what? I think that is where I got this thing from. Because I found myself like facing the world alone. I needed to fight my own battles. I had no identity. So I felt like I was not worth protecting. The world was unsafe. People really did not care about me. And if I didn't fight my own battles, I would perish. So I learned how to fight them. And you can imagine coming into the world, imagining that men are unsafe. And then at one point you try dating. Disaster. So those are traumatic childhood experiences. If you have come from a poor family, that if people, wherever you come from, wanted to talk about poverty, they would talk about your family. That is really traumatic. Growing up, we know families where affording clothes was a tall order. A tall order. Your clothes would get torn, get patched to the back. You'd feel like second-class citizens. Second-class citizens. When people are talking about sweaters, when we were going to school, there were sweaters that used to be torn all over the sleeves. And you are the talk of the school. That is an adverse childhood experience. And it will affect how you show up into the world. You don't show up into the world feeling safe. You don't show up into the world feeling worthy. You show up feeling so unworthy of love. And it will affect your relationships and all of them. And not just the romantic relationships. It affects how you show up even at work. When people are asked to do projects at work and to make presentations and to showcase their abilities, you won't. Because in your programming, somewhere in your subconscious mind, you always remember that time in class 4 when you tried standing up and making a presentation and people laughed at you. People completely laughed at you and put you down. Those are the memories you have. And they register somewhere in your subconscious mind. And if you don't now get into the healing work, you'll be deeply affected. I'm seeing people saying these are amazing classes. They're watching from Kiamombi. Phyllis is watching from Dagoretti. Mapambo stores. I'm relating that story and the fear of the dark. That was an experience. Yes. It's good that you are able to relate to that. And it's also good that you go ahead and see how that experience of the dark affects how you show up today and the kind of things that you're willing to do and the kind of things that you're able to do. Julia is tuned in from Marara. We have Nancy from Syokimau. Vemba Guta from Makueni. Kemani Joki is telling me sorry for the cough. And it just had to show up today, but it's okay. We'll make it. And if you have questions about what we are talking about, please put them in the comment section. We'll pick them up at some point. So put your questions there, even as we proceed, and I take a sip of water. So those are advanced childhood experiences. And why is healing important? Like I have said, it's because these experiences will show up. They will show up at work. This could be things that happened when you were 7 or 8, but they will show up at work. They will show up at school. They will show up in your body. Because trauma and unhealed trauma has a sister called shame, or a brother called shame. And shame is this deep feeling. Shame is not embarrassment. Shame is this feeling we get at the core, where we feel like we are unworthy or defective as human beings. It's an inner sense of being diminished, like you are insufficient, you are completely not worthy of anything. And that shame is what makes us to be unable to stand up for ourselves and deal with those situations in our lives that require us to stand for ourselves. Every time I see people get a mistake, there are times you tell someone you need to set boundaries, and you can see the sense of loss on their face. They feel so lost. They wonder, what are you talking about? Boundaries? What does that mean? Does it mean I have to stand up for myself? Does that mean I have to fight? Because you feel so unworthy and so insufficient as a person. You don't think you're worth fighting for. Even you don't think you're worth fighting your own battles. Because that is how the programming of your subconscious mind happened. So we don't feel worthy of being protected. We don't feel worthy of being loved. We don't feel worthy of anything. And those are normally the victims of abuse. There's the other side where others are so wounded that the only way they know how to is to push other people, to harass people, to bully them, to be difficult, to do all that stuff, the negative things. Because unhealed trauma has two aspects. It can affect you in 2 ways. It has the aspect of disempowerment. Disempowerment is where many victims of abuse fall. They are helpless. They feel helpless in their situations. They don't think they have the skills, the power, the ability to rise and deal with their situation. They are unable to stand up for themselves. They feel like life is happening to them and that they have no control over what is happening. Life is happening to them. Those are victims. Then it also has another aspect, which we call this force empowerment. And force empowerment, I think this is where most of this generation that we keep blaming, we call them the Kababa and the Kamama generation, this could be where most of them are. Because we did not teach them balance of life. Because so many of those parents who has raised this generation had very traumatic experiences with their parents, they could have gone to the other extreme, where you are not guiding your children, you're not disciplining them, you're not showing them the way. In life, there's a principle called the principle of deserving. You don't just get anything in life. There's the principle of deserving. There are things you must do to get what we want. So these force-empowered people imagine that they can get anything they want without putting any effort, without doing anything, but they'll get it. That is wrong. And that is the other side of trauma. So trauma can disempower people. It can also give them a sense of force empowerment. Millicent is saying she can almost relate 100% to what I am saying. Let me know what the others are feeling. What are you feeling? And if you're comfortable, you can share with us your experiences. You can share with us your experiences with ACEs. If you're feeling comfortable, you can share with us. So force-empowered people are the ones who will bully, they will degrade, they will tease, they will belittle, they will humiliate. Because those who are abused as children, or those who are emotionally neglected and not nurtured as children, they have a lot of anger, bitterness, resentment, low self-esteem, and low self-worth on both sides, whether they are the disempowered ones or the force-empowered ones, the force-empowered ones. They have that. So they suffer what we call shame. The shame that I've told you is the sister of trauma, which is a disease of self. You don't feel comfortable within yourself. You don't feel comfortable within your body. You don't feel right. You don't feel like you are worthy to show up in the world. You don't feel like you're worthy to show up in life. You don't. It's just some disease that makes you feel contemptuous towards yourself. You are likely going to criticize, belittle yourself, hold yourself small, hold yourself tiny, because where you are supposed to be mirrored love and value and empowerment, that did not happen for you. So, and most of these people will engage in codependent relationships. These are relationships where we are addicted to them. We can't do without them. You jump from one relationship to the other. You are not even healing. Is the people who will say kuoga kurudi soko. Before you oga and you rudi soko, you need to process what has just happened to you. So they will say kuoga kurudi soko haraka haraka, because they cannot stand to be alone. Because the moment they find themselves alone, they interpret that to mean that they are not worthy. They are not lovable. So for me to prove that I'm lovable, I have to be in a relationship with someone, whether it's working or it's not working, whether this person is fit for me or they are not fit for me. I need to be in a relationship with someone. I need to have a title before my name, or I need to have a name after my name that makes me feel complete. So that's why we need healing. Because if we don't heal, we'll continue complaining about relationships. And let me tell you, the problem out here, and I dare say this, and I say it with a lot of love, is not the men. And the problem out here is not the women. The problem out here is the kind of men that your woundedness is attracting to you. If only you healed your inner woundedness, you'd be surprised. You will attract a completely different brand or breed of men and women. So you are attracting the dysfunctional ones. You're attracting the dysfunctional men. You're attracting the dysfunctional women. Why? Because of your early traumatic experiences, how they programmed you, how you view yourself, the energy levels that you're vibrating from. So if you're vibrating from low down there, you will attract the ones that are vibrating from low down there. Kimani Joki is saying she was labeled as the black sheep in the family. And as the last born, I felt rejected. It really affected me till 4 years ago. I'm glad I'm dealing with this and many more childhood traumas. Thank you, Joki. You are being labeled as the black sheep. You are the odd one out. You're the one who stood out, maybe dared to be different. And everybody branded you as the black sheep in the family because you are not conforming, maybe. So, and I'm glad that you have been able to discover that and you're working on healing. So, how does the healing look like? Or maybe I can take a few questions before I proceed from there. I'm seeing candid conversations with Caroline and Chris. Somebody is saying that is a sad truth. Yes, it is the sad truth. Wanjiro Njoroge is saying the last 3 days have been awesome. I don't know whether somebody has a question. Do you see your ACEs in the things that we have learned today? Do you see where you fall or the things that happened to you? Okay. As we proceed, you can put your questions there. So to be able to overcome this trauma and the ACEs, you must be ready to confront the feelings and the pain rather than suppress it. Suppressing it does not take it anywhere. We talked about numbing, I think on Monday. And Zippy told us very clearly that numbing will not get you anywhere. It will just stay in the body and it will show up. So if you want to heal, you must be willing to confront the feelings. Someone is saying, whoever linked me to this, be blessed. Indeed, it's helpful. Myself, after being raised by both parents, in between Form 3, my mom left home. I was in Form 3. This hit me. Being the firstborn in that family and the only girl, I couldn't somehow cry. Imagining my siblings, 4 of them are alone with my dad. I was affected academically, though I managed to get a C+. I couldn't wish to hear anyone mentioning their mom. Mind you, my dad was jobless, and then school fees issues, and the list of issues continued. And I can imagine that having to grow up very fast to take responsibility of other siblings has affected you in a way or another. You may find that you are always putting your needs last and everybody else's needs first, which is not healthy. You are always giving, 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 giving. Who takes care of you? And someone is asking, what must you do if you are already in a codependent relationship? What must you do if you're in a codependent relationship? One is to understand how your codependency manifests, heal from those patterns. Once you understand that this is codependent and it's healthy, you get deliberately to change it. You get deliberate in trying to alter those patterns. Because if it's a codependent relationship, you cannot continue doing the same things and expect different results. There's also a possibility that your partner is also a codependent. So you are doing the codependency dance between the two of you. So you may need to change the steps on your side so that you challenge or you prompt the other person to change their steps. I hope that makes sense. But you cannot continue doing the same things and expect different results. Once you understand you're codependent, understand how your codependency manifests. Do you find yourself overgiving? You know, sometimes codependents will apologize even for things they know they have zero business apologizing about. Why? Because they want to keep peace. Because if this person left, woye, what will I do? Lynette Ritter is saying we really need to heal and we need to be empowered to know how to do this self-diagnosis and retrospective steps to heal. Thank you, Lynette. It's the reason we are here. We are really trying to learn how to heal from abuse. Not from abuse, to heal from our traumatic experiences so that we're able to have better relationships. A Facebook user is saying, sure, you have hit the nail on the head. But it's just 2 years after I decided that I need to come fast, and God has helped me. Coming fast, a lot of people think it is selfishness, but it is self-care. And we have always said that for you to be able to give and to pour into other people, your cup must be full fast. So you must learn how to fill your cup fast because you cannot give what you don't have. If you realize you're an angry person, for example, you need to work on your anger issues so that you're able to give other people peace. Otherwise, you can't give peace if you don't have it within you. You can't give love if you don't have it within you. You understand? So you need to learn how to fill your cup first so that you are able to serve others from that cup. So that is self-care and self-love, and it is not selfishness. It helps you serve other people better. It helps you show up better for your children, for your job, for your relationships. It helps you show up better. Alice is asking, does absentee fathers affect children the same way with single parenthood? Yes, because what does this absentee father do? They do maybe what Carol was telling us yesterday. They are inconsistent. So you know he's somewhere. So he will show up, then disappear. So he shows up, it's good, 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 good. Then there's inconsistency, he disappears. So you may find yourself having similar effects, like a child maybe whose father was completely away. Because consistency for a child is key. So if you have a father that is not consistently into their child's life, not consistently paying attention, not consistently nourishing and taking the care of the kids the way he should, it will affect them. My trauma has come when I'm a grown-up from abusive marriage and a road accident that left me disabled. I don't know how to start this journey. Facebook user, I don't know your name, but an abusive marriage may not necessarily be a source of trauma. Because I always say, a healthy, divine, masculine male will never abuse a woman. And so is a healthy, feminine, divine, feminine. Not the toxic ones. They will never abuse a man. So if you find yourself in a relationship with somebody who is abusive, they also have their own dysfunctions. They have their own traumas. And that is why you attracted each other, because you are resonating at the same energy levels. So you will need to heal from your trauma, and your partner also needs to heal from their trauma if you are going to have a healthy dance, because relationships are a dance. So for you to have a healthy dance, both of you need to be healed. Both of you need to be coming into the relationship from a place of health. Otherwise, if one is healthy, the other one is not healthy, that relationship doesn't go far. The healthy person will start to feel, apana, this relationship, there's something it's not doing to me, or it's requiring too much. Because healthy people are able to identify healthy, and healthy people have problems identifying healthy. And sometimes in that mix, we take what is familiar. Because if you are wounded, you don't understand health. So you're likely going to find wounded familiar, and you're likely going to fall in love with wounded, because that is what is comfortable. That's what you imagine love is. So until you heal, that's when you are able to identify wounded and be able to deal with it. So your trauma could have been triggered now. The effects of your trauma could have been triggered by an abusive marriage. But I doubt that your trauma started there. I doubt. Let's continue putting the questions in the comments section. So I said you must be willing to confront your pain and your fears. You must also be able to not blame shift. Because if you start going into blame shifting, you'll get stuck. So you must be able to accept that what was done to me affected me in a negative way. And it's not necessarily because my parents or my caregivers were bad people, but it's also because they had their own dysfunctions. And so out of their own dysfunctions, they could not give health. But once you have identified that, do not underestimate the effects that that had on you. Don't underestimate it. Don't push it down. Don't numb it. It affected you, and you need to deal with it. So you also need to find the sources of your dysfunctions. Understand what it is that makes you behave the way you behave. Process the pains if they are there, then you let them go. And then we need to understand our codependency dance. Our codependency dance. And I always say I hated that word codependency for a long time, because I felt like by being told I'm codependent, I was being blamed for my pain. No. If you have to heal and heal healthy and heal well, you need to understand what your dysfunctions are. You need to understand what are your dysfunctions. How do they facilitate this dance that you are having? Because there must be a way that you are behaving that is making the dance continue. Deliberately and deliberately, consciously and consciously. But there is the step you make so that the other person makes the other step. So if you don't cut that codependency dance there, you will continue dancing. So you need to understand, what is my part? And this is not blaming yourself for the situation you have found yourself in. It's gaining an awareness. And once you gain an awareness, a lot of these things become easy. So for healing to happen, you also need to overwrite the dysfunctional scripts that are recorded in your subconscious mind. The beauty is that as we continue on and research continues, we have realized that the mind is not hardwired. It is softwired. It is possible to reprogram yourself. It is possible to deal with those dysfunctions and overwrite them and live a healthy life. And once you are healed, you'll be able to connect yourself to your true brilliance, your passions, and your authentic self. You'll be able to identify your intuition when it is talking to you. You'll be able to strengthen your core muscles. And by the core muscles, I don't mean these ones or the ones for the tummy. The person within you, you'll be able to strengthen them. That you'll be able to stand up for yourself, say no, say yes, set healthy boundaries, That is how healing looks like. And then you will also be able to let go. Stop carrying anger, stop carrying burdens, and stop carrying the things that people let you go. You will have the memories, but they will not have power over you. Those words that were said, those things that were done to you, they lose power. They lose power over you. They no longer hold you. It's like you become this free person. Go out and explore the world. And for you to be able to become this free person, there has to be that connectedness with your inner child. That connectedness to the being that you are within. That connectedness is what makes you a whole person. Because a lot of that is disconnected. Because as children, we were to be seen and not to be heard. So you also need to learn how to get your voice back. Get your voice. Speak out. Because your thoughts matter. Your words matter. What you have to say matters. That is healing. And I don't know whether we have any other questions as I sip on water. Keeping myself fast. This is Lynette. Keeping myself fast is self-care. You are writing that in bold, italicized, and underlined, and caps. Thank you. Blame shifting is the enemy of progress in every relationship. Accept that I allow negative journey led me to look at my inner woods that I was not even aware of. Yes, the moment you want to start doing a retrospect, understanding how you got here. How did I get into this mess? That is how your healing journey starts. And for healing to happen, you may need the support of therapists, you may need the support of a coach, somebody to just shed light in your path. Shed light and tell you, this one is what could be bringing you here. This is how we process it. This is how we heal it. This is how we bring closure. This is how we set you free. Because the moment you are set free now to explore the world as yourself, you are healed. And you will see wonderful results on all areas of your life. So are we learning something? Let me see in the comment section. If you have learned something, if these sessions are useful for you, please give me a yes. Please give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. I have heard the cry of many of you. There are many people who have come into my inbox and they're processing a lot of pain. They are in experiences that are complicated. They don't know what to do with them. And some of them are not able to afford one-on-one sessions. And when I thought about them, I thought of coming up with what I'm calling the Queen's Inner Circle Coaching Program. It is Inner Circle because you and I will interact beautifully. Now I'll have time to listen to your issues and help you process them and do all this in a safe, empathic, non-judgmental environment. So the Queen's Inner Circle Coaching Program is an 8 weeks program. Thank you for the yeses and the thumbs up. Millicent, Themba, Dorcas, thank you for the thumbs up. It's an 8 weeks program. And my belief is that by the end of the 8 weeks, and please bear with me today, our session may take in into 10 minutes into your time. Please bear with me, it's our last session. So the Queen's Inner program, the Queen's Inner Circle will address 8 areas. And at the end of it, I believe that you will have moved from point 1 where you are, maybe to point 5. I always tell people healing is a journey. Healing is a journey, and it doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of investment, there's a lot of self-awareness, there's a lot of things that you need to do to get to that space where you can say you are healed and you are healthy. So week 1, we'll do an assessment of your traumas and your ACEs, the advanced childhood experiences that I've talked about, to help you understand the issues that could be standing in the way of healthy relationships. So all those things that I've talked about, I'll help you assess them to see which ones are applicable to you, so that now when we come to healing, we know what we are focusing on. And we know the issues that they are presenting in your life, so that we know how to focus on them. So on week 2, we'll look at understanding the effects of ACEs and trauma in your relationships. So this is where we look at the codependency dance. We'll see how you are dancing. How is this dancing affecting your relationship? What is it that you're bringing that's causing this thing to just continue and spiral out of control for you? Then on week 3, you start embracing and processing pain. Zippy told us the body keeps the scores. And when that pain is held up in your body, it will manifest either in sicknesses, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. As you try to numb it, you get into unhealthy lifestyles. So we need to be able to remove that pain from your body and from your heart and release it so that we can open you up. We can open you up into experiencing yourself. So week 4, we'll be looking at healing practices 1. I have 2 healing practices that we look. I have two different kinds of healing practices. So week 4 we'll do healing practices 1. So these are the ones that will help you create a balance in your inner environment, because a healthy person has this balance in their inner. They have a calm inner environment. It's not chaotic. It doesn't run out of control. So this will help you create that balance in that inner environment. Week 5, we'll be doing healing practices 2. These are advanced practices that will help you regulate your emotions and maintain that inner balance. This will teach you, what do I do when I get a panic attack? What do I do when I feel like I want to overfunction? Yesterday, I was telling some ladies in one of our groups that when you're dealing with somebody who's disrespecting you, abusing you, cheating on you, blah, 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 don't go on overdrive mode. It's time to pause. It's time to take a step back. So how are you able to take a step back when everything is running wild in your head and in your heart, and you just want to confront, you want to fight somebody? How do you do that? Those are the healing practices too. They're a bit advanced, but I'll teach you how to do them. Then week 6, we'll address one of my favorite topics on earth, boundary setting. Boundaries. And boundaries are not walls, darlings. They are not walls. Because you put walls, you lock everybody out. Even those who should be coming in cannot come in. And even you who is in is trapped. You can't get out. So I want you to create boundaries, because boundaries are like a door or a gate where you vet who to bring in, what to bring in, and what to shut out. What to bring in, what to shut out. And in that process of boundary setting, I also want you to understand healthy detachments. You need to guard your sacred space. You need to be able to guard your sacred space. So I want to teach you, or to guide you, on how to guard your relationships with toxic people or people who have negative effects onto your life, especially if it's people you cannot walk away from, like a parent. It's not possible for many of us to disown our parents and just walk away and say, you know what, you're affected, and it's not healthy anyway. So I want to teach you how to guard that sacred space through healthy detachment, whereby you don't get enmeshed in this relationship that keeps causing you pain, but you are able to love on them, you are able to serve them, but at the same time, guarding your space. Week 7, we will look at anger and forgiveness. Anger is one of the healthiest emotions that God gave us. The healthiest. Because what does anger tell us? That somebody is crossing the line. That what you are experiencing is not good. It is not right for you. But some of us have been taught to ignore anger, to shove it down, to silence it, because it's not good. If I express my anger, what will happen? But let me tell you the beauty of anger. Anger can start as a rage within you. I want to teach you how to turn that into an outrage. Outrage, not screaming, yelling. It's an outer expression. And because of that outrage, we get courage. I don't know whether you're seeing the rage at the end of outrage and courage. Courage. Because anger is such a powerful force, if utilized properly, to push you to making decisions that are good for you. And you cannot be angry and say you have forgiven people. No. So I want you to balance that. How do I forgive someone and let go without feeling like I'm giving them a pass for the things that they did to me? How do I do that? So that is week 7. And week 8 is silencing our inner critic. We have an enemy, most of us, that has put up a post in our heads. So how do we deal with that inner critic that makes us feel guilty, even for doing the things that we know we are supposed to do? So the inner critic, we need to know how to address and we know how to deal with it. So that will be our 8 weeks program. So for those who have been asking me for personal sessions and then you felt like it was out of reach for you, I'm giving you this offer for the 8 weeks training at almost half of what it would cost you if you were to do one-on-ones with me. Because for the 8 weeks, I want you to make an investment of 15,000. Those who will pay after the early bird offer, because I have this wonderful early bird offer of just 10,000. 10,000 is half and below, half and more of what you would pay me if you were to do sessions with me, 8 sessions for 8 weeks. You'd pay so much more than the early bird offer. So if you want to grab this opportunity, please grab it. This is where, ladies, I was telling you, this will be our venting ground. Bring all those things that you have been wanting to bring them to this group. This will be a very safe space for us. It's a ladies group. It will be our safe space. We will talk about each and every issue that is bothering you. Bring it here. So the group sessions, I repeat, week 1 and week 3. Sorry. Week 1 is where we'll do an assessment of your ACEs because we need to understand where exactly did these issues originate. Then week 3, we will embrace and process the pain because pain does not like to be ignored. By the way, no, it requires to be, you need to admit that I'm in pain, acknowledged. Yeah, pain wants to be acknowledged. And you know what? I see you, I feel you, I see how you affect me, and I embrace you. So we need to learn how to embrace pain without embracing fire. Because some of us embrace pain and it burns us like a fire. So we need to know how to do that. So I was talking about the early bird offer. 10K, if you do that within the next, by 6th of November, you get it at 10K. If you want to make installments, we have that option. Installments of 8K each. If you're going to make a one-time payment after the 6th of November, then you'll do the 15K. And our group sessions will start on the 14th of November. And as I take a breather and gulp some water, I want to ask Sam Ambrose to say something.
Hello, I hope today I can be heard clearly. I want to thank Coach Ruth for this amazing conversation. And I know that a lot of people in the group, you have been asking about men not responding, but this has been awesome conversation, especially for the ladies. Now, I want to really share, and what Coach Ruth has shared is what most of us have gone through or what we have been able to miss. Now, my name is Samson Ambrose. I'm a certified coach. And I just want to respond to different levels that we actually respond to when it comes to trauma or painful experiences that you have gone to. Now, I grew up in the streets of Nakuru. Actually, for 1 year and few months, I was actually a street kid. And for those who come from Kakamega, I saw someone from Kakamega. Can you put on the chat? Can you put on the chat if you come from Kakamega? I saw someone from Kakamega. Just put on the chat if you are still here. So I grew up in a place where the people in Kakamega say Vanava approved Sumbranga. So this is a place next to Masina Moriro University. Now, most of us, when we get disconnected or we go through pains, there are different levels that we actually try to solve what is happening in our life and even the abuse that we may be going through right now. And the way I want you to look at it is how you are experiencing the things that are coming from out. How is life affecting you? Now, when I come out of the prison or when I come out of the rehabilitation center from Kakamega, I got my parents staying separately and my mom was here alone. And I didn't know for a long time. Even today, I've never asked what actually happened in that home or what happened to the relationship. And I remember when I finished my class 8 is when I was introduced to my biological father. I went to his office, we discussed, and he shared what actually had happened before. And this was not actually the man I grew up with as my father. Was a very totally different person I'm being introduced to. So I was excited because we all need an identity. We all need to know our roots. So one of the things in this process of healing is that you must be able to find your roots. You must be able to connect with where you're coming from. You must be able to connect with your father, because a lot of us have struggled with that one thing, to connect with our source, to connect with our roots, to know where we are coming from and what is building these amazing people we are today. So after being introduced to my father, he took me to high school. And by Form 2, there was a lot of issues. And one of the things is you need to understand the people in your environment, who they are and how they react to different things. So these issues actually led to my father rejecting me, and we had to go to DNA and all that. And DNA, for those who have done that, especially using the court route, it usually takes a lot of time. So during this period, I really struggled with identity. And I remember in Form 2 and Form 3, and this is for you if you are a single mom or you are a single parent and you are raising sons, this is for you, which can also give you some ideas on what you can be able to do if you are raising a boy child alone. Maybe your relationship didn't work or something happened in the way and you are a single parent. This was really a struggle to me because my mom couldn't understand how to give me support. So during this period of DNA and cases, because sometimes as parents, you don't understand what is actually happening to us as kids as you're fighting. And for me, this one made me to get into alcohol. I used to drink a lot when I was in high school. And later in life, as I was going through this stage of try to find my roots. You see, the person who was introduced as my biological father has rejected me and asked for DNA. And the person I knew as my father is no longer there. And it was a big challenge to actually connect this. So what I used to do is to really take a lot of hardcore during my high school, and actually that dropped my high school performance. But the truth is, one of the main ways we solve what is happening to us is we go below intelligence. So I want you to think about three levels. I want you to think about the intelligence level. I want you to think above intelligence and below intelligence. Now, at this intelligence level, this is where the stress is. This is where we are experiencing the things that are coming inside us. Maybe the rejection, the pain, the abuse is coming direct to us, and our intelligence self is able to experience this. Now, what most of us do is that we tend to look for ways to go below intelligence. And for me, it was drinking, maybe going to parties and trying to distract myself from the reality. And that's what most of us do by getting into depression or by going out to drink. Maybe you are faced too much that the only way you see is to go out there and get yourself out of this reality, out of this intelligence that is affecting you. But through therapy, by being aware and processing this, to gain a new ability, which is to go above intelligence. Now, above intelligence level is where you are seeing what is happening, but it doesn't affect you. I repeat that again. Above intelligence is seeing things that are coming directly to you, but they don't affect you. For example, if someone abuses you, it doesn't affect you. You know, Coach Ruth she has shared how if the teacher could ask about where is your father, who is your father, how it used to affect her. But going above intelligence is by now someone asking you, can you tell me about your father? It doesn't cause the emotional and the pain. So most of us get stuck in the past, get stuck in the abuse or this process of what has happened because we get stuck at the intelligence level, trying to analyze this, trying to get it better. And we are dealing with so much stuff. So what I want you to do is to go above intelligence. And when you join the program Coach Ruth has created, I'm going to ensure that you get an amazing program to help you through that journey of going above intelligence, about seeing things happening to you, but you don't get involved with them. Some of us are struggling with things that happened to us 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Is because we are stuck in this area. So I want you to give permission to continue to be able to take us through that process of how do we go above intelligence? How do we go to a place where what is happening in our life in a circle doesn't necessarily affect us? Because I know that initially when I didn't understand all this, if someone mentioned something that triggers me immediately, I don't know if how many, maybe you can put in the chat how many of you, when something happens, it awakens everything that has ever happened to you that is bad? So that used to happen to me, that when one thing happened, it awakens everything that has ever gone wrong in my life. And now I have like 1,000 things going in my head. And a lot of time it almost made me to go to an extent of killing myself and all that. But through therapy, you are able to understand yourself. So, conclude, I want to take this from here. I want to also encourage everyone to join the program and get that and auditing to the next level.
Thank you so much, Sam. Please bring this back up. I'm welcoming you to the program. Please take advantage of the offer that we are giving to you. Our program will start on the 14th of November. It will be an 8 weeks program, so that will run all the way up to January. We'll be meeting weekly. So I look forward to seeing you there. And my parting shot for you today is that one of the peculiar characteristics of the subconscious mind is that it will not take orders from the conscious mind. And some of us wants to deal with our issues. Really, you cannot reprogram the subconscious from the conscious. The subconscious only acts upon orders from the emotions. And those are the emotions that I want to teach you how to create. Emotions that will work for you. The things that were supposed to have been done for you when you were a child. So that when your subconscious mind was being programmed, those are the things that I want us to learn and to understand through this program. All right, it has been a pleasure to see all of you here. Thank you so much for the 3 days that you have given us and your time. Please invite your friends to our forums, tell your friends about our programs so that we heal together. Like we have always said, we're not just doing this for ourselves. We are doing this for ourselves and our children and the generations that come after us. We can make this world a beautiful place if only we heal. So thank you very much, even for those who have stayed with us up to the end. Enjoy your evening. Have a good night. Let's keep our communities alive on WhatsApp, on Facebook group. Let's keep those discussions alive. Thank you very much. God bless you. Have a good night.